Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the NBA coverage. I got my co-host here, Coach Calvin, and we are gonna get started like we always do. We're gonna go over the standings. We're gonna over statistical leaders, and I'm gonna open the floor to Coach Calvin to give us the news, highlights, and lowlights for the NBA this season. So let's get straight into it. Our East, we have Cleveland Cavaliers at 1, Boston Celtics at 2, 6 games behind. New York Knicks at 3, Pacers at 10, Bucks at 5, or Knicks at 3, Pacers at 4, Bucks at 5, Pistons at 6, Magic at 7, Heat at 8, Hawks at 9, Bulls at 10, Nets at 11, 76ers at 12, Raptors at 13, Hornets at 14, Wizards at 15. In the West, we got OKC, number 2, at OKC at 1. Number 2, we got Memphis Grizzlies, 9.5 games behind OKC. We got Denver Nuggets. They are tied at 9.5 games behind OKC. So it's a tight race there. Lakers are at 4, Rockets are at 5, Clippers at 6, Timberwolves at 7, Mavs at 8, Warriors at 9, Sacramento at 10, Phoenix Sun at 11, Spurs at 12, Portland at 13, Jazz at 14, and the Pelicans are sitting there at 15. Statistical leaders, points per game, nothing different here. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at 32.3 for OKC. Rebounds per game, Sabonis at 14.6 for Sacramento. Assists per game, Trae Young at 11.4 for Atlanta Hawks. Steals, Daniels for the Atlanta Hawks at 3. Box per game, Victor Wembanyama at 3.8. Victor Wembanyama is one of the news that I do want to mention here real quick. Victor Wembanyama is out for the rest of the season with blood clots in his shoulder, so he will not be eligible for postseason awards. So number 2 at blocks per game will be Kessler for the Utah Jazz at 2.4. Field goals percentage, we have Kessler for the Utah Jazz at 72% from the field. Three-pointers, Kennard for the Memphis Grizzlies at 47.4. Free throw percentage, Steph Curry for Golden State Warriors, 92.7%. Minutes per game, Maxey at 38. Bridges right behind him at 37.9. Turnovers, Trae Young at 4.9 turnovers per game. I'm going to open up the field or open up the floor for Coach Calvin to go ahead and get us started on what he's seeing in the NBA.
Hold on, man. Let me just start with the West real quick.
Yeah, yeah. Break it down for us.
Uh, okay, we got the Thunder. Not
Hmm.
we got the Nuggets. Okay, Grizzlies. Very surprising. Not really
Yeah.
surprised. Not very surprising. But we
But
see.
right,
But we see what like because this time last year John Morant was out, right? I want to
right.
say
Yeah,
down in the pack and everything like that.
yeah. Bottom five.
Healthy. They got Zach Edey too. Big contributor in
Yep.
everything like. So good for them. Lakers, I think the last time we did this, they were fifth. They moved up a
Yep.
spot and everything.
Yep. They are 14-4 in their last 18 games. So they're going on a pretty hot streak right now. Number 1 in offense, number 2 in defense is January 15th. Or number 1 offense and number 1 in defense. Since January 15th.
Mm-hmm. So,
Luka had a really good game their last game.
so I guess it's turning out pretty good for them with the trade and
Yeah,
everything.
yeah.
So,
Again,
um,
just like we talked about, that them being so defensive minded, and then even Luka, you can tell his defense has stepped up. I think you got LeBron James in his ear. I think you also have JJ Redick in his ear, basically saying like, if you want to take your game to the next level, if you just put in some effort and kind of build a little bit of a defensive presence, he's going to be a problem. He had, I think, 2 blocks and a steal or 2 steals and a block last game. Like it's panning out to be working in the Lakers' favor.
mhm. Shocking, the Rockets.
They're where are they at
Fifth,
third,
fifth.
fifth? That's right. They were second. They're dropping a little bit, but yeah, Rockets are still being fairly dominant for what we've seen in the past for sure.
Clippers. Okay, we see them. Timberwolves. We kind of knew they were going to be struggling a little bit. Mavs. Feel like once you get a healthy AD, dude, I feel like they would jump to six or something.
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like they
Injuries
would
is
jump,
what's plaguing the
I
Mavs
feel
for
like
sure.
they jump to six. Warriors, nine. Eh.
Now,
playing.
Warriors are 5-1 since they got Jimmy Butler. He's definitely contributing to the success of that team right now. So, like we talked about last time, this is that point in the season where it's going to be crunch time for teams that are teeter-tottering in the play-in. Teams that are in the play-in, teeter-tottering from potentially being up in the playoffs and bypassing the play-in, and you got those teams that are just outside the play-in trying to get in the play-in.
Yeah, because I mean, like,
Because Warriors were, I believe, 11th or 12th at one point in the season
I
in the
mean,
bottom five.
6 through 11, they're all just back just by like 3 games.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's gonna be a tight crunch. Kings 10th. I mean, you see De'Aaron Fox left. I mean, you can see a decrease in that. Suns, KD leaving after this year. I don't give a damn what nobody say. He's leaving. He ain't staying there. Spurs. I mean, they took a big hit with Victor. He's out for the rest of the season, and then Coach
And
Pop as well.
yeah. Yeah, he is
Um,
out as well. He suffered a mild stroke in November. For those of y'all that weren't aware, so he
and then
won't be coming back.
you got the Jazz, well, Trailblazers, Jazz, and Pelicans. Pelicans. I mean, they had what's his name? Brandon Ingram get traded.
Yep.
So I mean, you're gonna see a decrease in that. Uh East, man, I mean, I'm not really surprised by it and everything. Cavs been playing good. Celtics, Knicks, Bucks, Pacers, Pistons. Okay, they making a little
Yeah, they've won six straight. Pistons have won six straight. Kate Cunningham is absolutely balling right now. Yeah.
Magic, they're still right there. Heat, right there. Hawks, Bulls, 76ers. I mean, yeah, well, I don't give a shit about the rest of them. I'm sorry. But I mean, yeah. But yeah, the East looks pretty straight, bro, to be honest. I feel like we pretty much know who the people are gonna be in that one. But wait for next year and everything, man. I think once like the Raptors get adjusted and everything, I think they may jump up to like a like a 7 or 8 seed and everything, since they got Brandon Ingram and Scotty
Yeah.
Barnes and all those other people, you know. So um yeah, that's my little prediction and everything for next year.
Yeah, they got some dogs. What do you think about the current Knicks situation? They're sitting at third. I think I try not to watch like since we started doing the NBA, I try not to watch too many sport talk shows. As much as I love Shannon Sharp and Stephen A and Molly and all them on First Take, I try not to watch their stuff because I don't want to come on here and regurgitate kind of what they've been saying. But I am curious as to what the sports media is saying about certain teams. I feel like there's a little bit of I don't want to say this too prematurely, but I think, ironically, there's a premature kind of panic with the Knicks. Like today, all they've been running is basically like I believe one headline is, "Should we stop taking the Knicks seriously? Are the Knicks a legit team? Can they keep the consistency? They're third in the East, but I believe they haven't beat a single team that's rated higher than them. So they've lost to the Boston, I believe, by 50 points total this year. They haven't beat Boston this year. They haven't beat the Cavs this year. They haven't beat OKC this year. When you look at a team that was pretty much running high with a lot of momentum, Carly Towns came in and made an impact immediately. Jalen Brunson is playing phenomenal, like usual. Um, do you think it's too early to start kind of discounting the Knicks, or do you think this is pretty much how it's going to go for them, not being able to contend with the top of the top? Like, what's your take on that?
I don't know, man. I really don't know how to answer that. Cause I mean, it's hard to say that because they could be one piece away from having that one person that completes the whole team. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
What does that look like? I don't know. Um, I don't know. And plus, I think too the I think it's too the reason why that's like a big topic or like even a topic is just because the nature of the Knicks and their history. Like I guarantee you,
yeah,
if it was like another team like the Heat or something like a mid-major market team, they wouldn't be talking about that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, big market. It's big
Yeah,
market.
I really think it's just it's because of their name, their history. Like Madison Square Garden, you're playing the Garden tonight. Like you better come to play. Like you know what I'm saying? Like
The
it's the
mecca of basketball.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think it's the history and everything. I think that's the biggest thing too because I mean they're a big name team, big market team. They're in New York. You know what I'm saying? Um, but I don't know, man. What's your take on it?
My take is I think it's because I believe the reason why the headline right now is because they this weekend I believe they've lost their 3 games they've had this past since Thursday maybe this past weekend they've went on like I think a 3 game losing streak again. All 3 teams were two top contending teams. I think it's a little too early to say to stop the headline was to stop taking them seriously. I think it's too early for that. One, because we've seen it time and time again. We've talked about this time and time again in previous seasons where it's all about who plays the best ball going into the playoffs. Now, crunch time starts after the All-Star break. So they're having a rough go right after the All-Star break. But I do believe that it's too early because they still have 2 months to figure it out because they're sitting at the third spot. I'm going to assume that they don't fall out of the 6th seed, right? I'm going to assume that they're guaranteed a playoff berth, right? They're not going to do the playing route. So as long as you make the playoffs, you're good. You have a shot. So I do think that they have to find a way to be more consistent in competing with these top teams. Like it'd be different if they were barely losing to the Celtics by like a point or two, maybe 8 points. They're getting blown out. They lost by, I want to say around the high 20. Like they lost by like 20 something points. I think maybe even 30. So they're not even competitive against these top teams. So I do understand where this kind of over exaggeration is coming from, but it's still too early. If it's 2 weeks left in the season, okay, cool. I get it. They're not competing. They're losing to these teams that they're going to have to beat in the playoffs to win. But it's still too early for me. I say let's wait a month when there's 4 weeks left in the season. And if they still haven't figured it out by then I think it's time to panic for the Knicks. Not panic in the sense of, oh, they're not going to make the playoffs, but panic to the point where they're going to have a dogfight because they're going to have to face either the Knicks or the Cavs to get to the finals. They're going to have to play them. And if you can't sniff even a competitive loss to either of those teams, then it's like, okay, it's looking rough. But I do think it's a tad bit too early for me to hit the panic button on the Knicks.
Dude, and I'm saying this too, man. Like, why did like I thought they were fine just with Julius Randle, to be honest. Like, I understand getting Cat and everything was like it looked better on paper and everything, but for the long run and everything, did it make sense?
Interesting. So do you
Did
think you think Knicks
did
you don't
that
think
make
Knicks got that much you don't think Knicks got better from the trade?
I mean, dude, it's hard to say something like I think the Julius Randle going to like the Minnesota and everything. I think that was stupid on Minnesota's part, to be honest. Y'all
Mm,
just came off of a title run and you
right.
lost your one or arguably your two guy. Honestly, your number one guy because Cat's been there. He's been the guy there. Ant's just a
Right.
young dude that's starting to have his little fame and everything. Shouldn't say little fame. I don't mean to dim his light. My fault. I shouldn't say that. But
Yeah,
um,
I get you. He's a
yeah,
dog, but
yeah,
Cat has been the guy before Ant was there.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it raises a question to me. Is just like did was that an even trade? Now that we're actually going through the whole season and everything, not an even trade, but like.
I get what
Do
you're saying because Knicks were like the 4th seed last year, so it's not like they're the number 1 seed. It was a huge like they might have gotten a little bit better. I get what you're saying. Like they weren't a
Were
bad
they
team last year
offensive wise from spacing and three pointing? Oh yeah, you definitely upgraded in that, but like
defensively.
defensively, like I guess like you kind of evened out, I guess there. Like I don't know, man. I really don't know. Um, because like you said, they were fourth like last year and everything. They're right there at that same spot. It's just like, all right,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
so.
It's like you did a blockbuster trade to get a very small incremental better, essentially. And then, yeah. And then you go back to defense wins championships. Like you got, I mean, I think statistically, I think they're worse defensively than they were last year. Is that because of Julius Randle not being there anymore and his presence in the paint and his ability to guard the perimeter in the paint? I don't know. Because you could argue, you could argue that Cat is a rim protector, but
They don't have Hardesty anymore. They don't have him.
exactly. Exactly. So you kind of lose that duality you have with Harnstein being a true just big body presence. His main objective is to be a defensive rim protector, and he's gonna do what he needs to do on offense. When to switch to a stretch four who, I mean, when you look at him from a post perspective defensively, it's been kind of tough for him this season because he's been looked at to do so much offensively, and you're asking him to do so much defensively as well. It's tough. It's tough, but that's all I had for my notes. Did you have anything else you want to bring up?
Ah,
Well, y'all heard it here. Another episode of the NBA coverage. We'll catch you guys next week.